You wanna be in the video? Looky up here. Looky. Aww. Okay, go play with your brother. Hi, welcome. I'm Mary and I hook books. I crochet things inspired by books, and this is going to be my June wrap-up. I may have made a horrible mistake and given the cats collars with bells on them. I hope it's not too disruptive, but we shall see. So, last month I really wanted to read a bunch of stuff that I knew I would love for my birthday. So, this month I kind of did the opposite. I went back through my TBR and said, I don't know if I'm still going to like this or not. So, I'm going to try it, and it is okay if I DNF. So, I DNF'd 7 books this month. The first one was The Golem and the Genie, and this was good, but it was so slow and so long. It was 50% before we even met, the two main characters even met each other. So I just had other things I really wanted to read, and I put it down. Then I picked up a couple classics. The first one was The Picture of Dorian Gray. And I know it's satire. I know the whole point is that these people are not great. But I just got very annoyed with hearing people, oh, isn't it hard being rich and attractive? Oh. And I couldn't, so I put it down. Then I picked up another classic that I had, Robinson Crusoe. And I was down for about the first third of this book. I saw what people saw in this back in the day. It was some fun, piratey type adventures with problematic elements because it did happen of its time. But I got it. I was really enjoying it. And then it just came to a screeching halt, and he found God and just babbled on about that for a while. And I got bored, so I put it down. I also picked up What If It's Us, and I have heard good things about this. I think for the right audience, this would be a really great book, but I'm just not in that place right now. It's a YA romance that I think actually would be pretty good. It's just not for me right now, so I have learned to put those things down. Then Helldivers. I used to just kind of buy anything that was on sale and sci-fi-ish, and this author and I have tried, because he has such cool premises, but his writing style it just grates on my nerves, and I do not like it. So, great premises, bad writing, and I put it down. And then Shadow Captain actually made me really sad because I really liked the first book in this series, but this book just seemed so bogged down in the little details, and it was really slow. There was not much about the first book that I loved that was in this one. Did that make sense? A lot of the stuff I loved in the first book just wasn't there, and I kept forcing myself to pick it back up because I liked the first one so much, and eventually I just DNF'd that one as well, sadly. Alistair Reynolds, he's very hit or miss with me. And then The Fat Years, I really was enjoying this for about, I think it was the first 46%. And then I put it down and went to bed, and I came back the next day, and a lot of the characters are very similar. There's a lot of different points of view, and I respect this book for what it did, but when I put it down and picked it back up, I just couldn't get back into it. So it's a very important book, I think, for a lot of people, but I just have more things to do with my time that I'm going to enjoy more. Like hanging out with kitties. Okay, can you say hi? Okay, go play with your brother. The boys are getting a little rowdy, so if you hear any clangs, that would be them knocking over their cat tower again. But books. So, one of the first books I read this month was Get in Trouble, and this is a short story collection, and me 15 years ago would have loved this collection. Me now was just kind of sad. And there were some kind of cool supernatural fantasy stories, but it just did not jive with current day Mary. One of the first stories is about a fairy. So I made this cute little fairy who's apparently got a wonky wing up in here. And unfortunately, I gave that one a 2.75. I mean, really looking back, I might bump it down because I don't remember most of it, except that I didn't really enjoy it. So then I picked up Phillip K. Dick's Electric Dreams, and I think Phillip K. Dick really does well in short story form. And toward the beginning of his career, I really like a lot of his stuff. There were none that really stuck out to me in this collection, but they were all pretty good stories. So I gave it 3 stars, and I have to get some elastic, but I made this cute little sleep mask for our electric dreams. And for the Destroyer of Worlds, the second book in the Lovecraft Country duology, again, it was good. I think this is a very important duology for a lot of people. It was okay. Same thing as with the first book. I think the TV show was better, and it's so weird to say that about a book in a TV show. But you really did have to read the first one. It's a straight continuation and kind of wraps some stuff up. So 3 stars. It was okay. It was good. And I got to make another Cthulhu. As you can see, he is one of my favorite patterns to make. So I will take any excuse to make a little baby Cthulhu. I picked up a Blake Crouch book called Abandon, and I've really liked Blake Crouch in the past. He's not amazing. Like, he doesn't have the best prose, but all of his books are really good, and they're fun, fast popcorn reads. This was unusual. Most of the books that I've read from him have kind of a sci-fi twist, but this was kind of a mystery western, so that was really interesting and unique. And I don't know if Blake Crouch is from Colorado, because he made a lot of references to little things in Colorado that I was like, oh wow, that's accurate. So that was really fun. So I made a Colorado hat for Abandon, Colorado, and I gave that 3.75 stars. It wasn't my favorite Blake Crouch, but it was still really good. And then I read American Monsters, and this was fun. Like, this knew what it wanted to be, and it was unashamedly what it was. It's just a fun cryptid type exploration of the different cryptids and their overlap between different regions, especially in the US. So I really liked it. It was a super fast nonfiction read, so 4 stars for that. And one of the first books that I read this month actually was The Light at the Bottom of the World. And I had heard a lot about this. There was a lot of hype a while back, and I finally picked it up, and I liked it. It was high action. I could have done without the romance, but I guess it is YA, and it did actually end up serving the plot, so I can forgive it. I didn't realize that it was part of a series though, so I don't know. I might have to pick it up. The second one is available at the library. So I liked this. It's the end of the world. You can't live on the surface, so everyone has to live underwater, hence the light at the bottom of the world. And there's all sorts of sea creatures. So I made this reversible octopus. This is another one of my favorite patterns that I like to make over and over. Happy octopus, mean octopus. So that one got 4 stars from me. As did the Mystery Writers of America presents Mystery Box, and this was a short story collection. And it was an assignment given to these writers that you can write whatever you want, but there has to be a mysterious box. And all of these stories were pretty darn good. And a couple of them I actually remember. Sometimes it's a book, and sometimes it is just me and my short memory, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to start talking about books, so that I would maybe actually remember some. So pretty much everything in this collection was at least a 4-star for me, so I give the collection as a whole 4 stars as well. And for the mystery box, I made a Kleenex cover for the classroom. And one book that I read or listened to pretty much all the way at work, except for about the last 20 minutes of it, was Infinite by Jeremy Robinson. And apparently I had read the 3rd book in this series, and I didn't know it was part of a series, and it was crazy. Like, I still remember them riding dinosaurs. Like, it was crazy, but in a really great, fun way. And this one was too. Like, it was a really cool concept. People sent out, the world is in shambles. They invent faster than light travel. We're gonna go find Kepler 22b, see if we can live there. And someone wakes up early, and it does not go well for the rest of the crew. And things just get wackier and crazier from there. Like, this is not an objectively good book, but this is a page-turner popcorn read. All the twists were so perfect for the in-world logic, but so out there. But it was so fun. So, solid 4-star. Alright, now my neighbors are yelling at each other. This wrap-up will be filmed. So, I read a really great little short story. I guess it's a novella. It's about a 3-hour audiobook called The Fullness of Time. And this had a very interesting time travel mechanism, and how it explored how it would affect that family. And there's a documentary crew going to make a documentary about this family, and mystery ensues. I wouldn't call it a chase, but like, one of the main characters tries to run away so he doesn't have to do this for his family anymore. And they have these fits where they just go mentally into the future. So they tell everyone they have narcolepsy. So I made a little kitty pillow for their little narcoleptic fits. Really good read, really quick, 4.25 from me. And also 4.25 was Stephen King's The Institute. And I know this was really divisive. A lot of people did not like this, but I did. So Stephen King and I have had a very tumultuous relationship that he's completely unaware that we have. But this one I liked. They kidnap children with telekinetic powers or telepathic powers, and use them for various nefarious purposes, and we aren't really sure exactly what those nefarious purposes are for the majority of the book, but we just know that these children have been kidnapped. And I made an earwormer, and it would be a spoiler to tell you why an earwormer is appropriate for this book, but just go with it, because the main character needs an earwormer. Another super short novella that was really good this month was Nothing But the Rain. And this had such an interesting premise and storytelling device of the journal writing, because every time you get wet in the rain, you start forgetting. And I mean, it's only about a 2.5 hour audiobook, but it was really good, really well written. I had a jaw-dropping moment at one point, and I really enjoyed it. So that got a 4.5 from me. And I made a little rain storm cloud for that. And another cool time travel kind of thing that I read this month is Ubik. And this is another Phillip K. Dick, and I'm trying to figure out if I still have the same tastes as I did when I was younger. And Phillip K. Dick and I are getting along well. Valak, no. But Ubik, yes. So in this world, there's telepaths and anti-telepaths and people with, like anti-telekinetic powers, etc. And I cannot describe it. It is Phillip K. Dick at probably his best. Like, I think he does really well in short stories and his earlier books, like Ubik. The time travel device was so fascinating to me. And in the very beginning, I thought there was just some world building, and no, it came back, and it made everything make sense. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. But Ubik keeps changing depending on what era they're in. And the very first thing that Ubik is advertised as is a hoppy beer made in Cleveland. So I had to make a Cleveland Browns beer cozy. And I love my space wackiness. I just do. So the third Jack McKeown book, Will Leave the Galaxy for Good. This, again, so just fun, wacky, it doesn't take itself too seriously, has stakes and emotional moments for the characters and growth, but it's very meta, very a little bit goofy, tongue-in-cheek. So this is another 4.5. I really like this style of just wacky space adventures with, I wouldn't necessarily call it heart, but like substance. So the deeper parts of the galaxy they call the black. So I am working on, this is an ongoing project, a black and sparkly infinity scarf to represent the black stars of the far out galaxy. And then I read Man on the Mountain, and I really liked this. It's a very good introduction. It's a very accessible introduction to Buddhism if you're unfamiliar. It's very basic, but without being patronizing. So it really made me reflect on why I do some of the things I do and where some of those ideas and values came from. So that was very cool. Another 4.5. And I made a Lotus for our Man on the Mountain. And one of the nonfictions that I really enjoyed this month was Broken Faith inside the Word of Faith Fellowship, one of America's most dangerous cults. And literally my jaw dropped so many times when I was listening to this book. It is so crazy. And I love cults. I love learning about cults, but this one is so scary. And largely because they're still out there. They're still doing these things. They have changed laws. They hired Scientology's lawyers and changed laws. It's crazy. So good, so well researched over decades. This cult has just done some insane stuff, but you can also see how people would get sucked into it. So, another 4.5 for me for that. And the last and possibly best book that I read this month was In the Lives of Puppets. And this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And if you expect it to be like House on the Cerulean Sea, you will be disappointed. But if the humor hits for you, and the humor hit for me, this is so good. And every time the robot vacuum Rambo spoke, I just thought it sounded so much like listening to the inner thoughts of my cats. So I loved that. There's some asexual representation, which I thought was really cool. Some found family. And it was a little fun, a little goofy. I loved the humor, but it also was very sweet. And there were high emotional stakes for our characters. And our main character makes his father a heart because he's part robot, so he makes his dad a heart. And there's more valves, but I didn't sew them on before the cats got to them, so I'm gonna have to move the couch, I think, to find them. But anatomically correct heart-ish. And I gave that one 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. So that was my June 2024 reading and crochet wrap up. I hope that you pick up some of these really great books, and I hope that you as well learn to stop doing things that you don't love when you don't have to do them. So if you need a DNF, if you want to pick up a really great book, do whatever is great for you. Take care of yourself, get some water, get some exercise, hang out with friends, take a good nap, take care of yourself in a way that nourishes your soul. And remember, keep your shoulders back, your head up, and breathe.
If you found the one, you should never give her up. I think it's the way life